This is the iPhone 11 on the Crane M2 Gimbal. And I'm going to show you how to set up this whole entire rig for filmmaking, more specifically smartphone filmmaking. Welcome back to the channel. So good to have you here. Thank you for selecting my video and deciding to watch my pretty face helping you out with the Crane M2 and a smartphone. If this is the first time that you're here, my name is Brian Olsen. I am an aspiring filmmaker from South Africa. I am also a content creator, and today I just wanted to share my method. So I'm calling this the ultimate guide on how to set up your Crane M2 for smartphone filmmaking. And the reason why I'm doing it is I've gone through a ton of videos on the internet where I was trying to figure out the best and quickest way to set up the Crane M2, especially with a smartphone. The biggest downfall or the biggest deficit when it comes to smartphone filmmaking and using accessories and gear, as you can see that the accessories are leaning more towards the left side. So I'm going to show you exactly how to balance this out. But firstly, what I want to show you is how much this whole entire rig actually weighs, because the Crane M2 can handle up to 930 or 950 grams, something like that, but it's definitely below a kilogram. Just to go over the gear that I have. So obviously we have the Crane M2 Gimbal with the smartphone mount attached here. So this is the Crane M2 Gimbal. As you can see, I'm not lying, it's Crane M2 Gimbal right there. Here we have the filter mount, which allows us to attach a filter. This one is for a 62mm, and this just allows us to attach an ND filter or a diffusion filter or a CPL filter, whichever filter. These 62mm filter mounts, they don't come out, they don't exist anymore. You get from 67mm from Moment. Right, so what I've done is all of my filters are exactly the same size so that I don't have to use any sort of step up or step down rings. But if you want to go bigger, you're going to have to use a step up ring. But this is for me ideal, seeing that we are using a one-sided heavy rig. Then we have a 62mm diffusion filter, which in this case is a 20%. And then we have the holy grail of filmmaking, controlling light, and this is a 62mm variable ND filter from Moment as well that we're going to attach. I have these counterweights, and if you're familiar with these counterweights, yes, this counterweight is Moment's counterweight for the DJI Osmo 3. And just for the sake of this demonstration, this is generally where you would put it on, and this counterweight is usually used when you have your smartphone on to obviously balance it out. With the Crane M2, we're going to obviously need to use this counterweight, and I'm going to show you exactly with a little piece of Velcro attached how I get to balance the Crane M2 with a smartphone, like they say in YouTube land. Let's get into it. Let's attach all of the accessories. We've got the filter mount with the anamorphic lens, and then what we're going to do is we're going to attach the diffusion filter right there, as you can see, and then we are going to put on right. So before we actually do that, we're going to wait quickly before we actually do this. So putting it on, 352 grams, and this is an iPhone 11. So the first thing that I usually do is unlock all the axes, and it's pretty easy. You just unlock it and then adjust it, and then we have our setup. So I told you about the counterweight. I generally attach the counterweight at the end of the arm, which is this is the tilt, this is the roll axis, and this is the pan. That bad boy secure. So this counterweight, you can see that it's a bit of a weight. This is about 68 grams in total. So it's enough to bring balance to the force. Okay, and then mount your phone. And generally you don't want to make this too tight, the screw, because you're going to move this back and forward. So what I've done is I put it on the first slot, because the first slot is reserved for GoPros, it's reserved for smartphones, and it's reserved for point and shoots. The long slip here is generally for your mirrorless cameras. So I like to start with the roll axis. As you can see, I loosen the screw and I try to balance that out as far as I can. As you can see, that's just the balance is perfect. There we go. So lock it in. So now with the tilt, it's a bit of a issue, because as you can see, it's going to hit there. So you need to, the center of gravity has to obviously go as low as you can. And generally that's how far it's going to be. Let's try and see how far it goes. Unfortunately, you're not going to be able to savor the movement. So I try and go as close as I can to have movement, and I lock it in, and then finally we move the cell phone mount. So we're gonna have to move it to a point where the smartphone is standing all by itself without the there we go. So just be careful when you tighten the screw that it doesn't make the smartphone clamp move forward or backwards. Okay, now we got that covered. So the more you do this, you can actually get a lot quicker. But obviously for the purpose of the demonstration, I'm making sure that I cover everything, so that once you've watched this, you know exactly what you need to do as far as balancing out the Crane M2 with a smartphone. So you can see that it's standing very nice. So then the next thing that we need to do is the pan arm, right? So generally with the pan arm, what you would want to do is you would hold it like this, and it makes it very difficult with a smartphone, because you want to move it that way. As you can see, that's going anti-clockwise, and if you go the opposite end like that. So what I generally do is I take the screw, hold it like this, and I move the arm forward or backward depending, because I need this screw to be aligned. Generally this is my reference point. And then you loosen it, and this generally takes a little bit of time, because you need to obviously make sure that the smartphone is balancing properly. So you want it to be in the middle as close as possible. Like so. Right? And if you then hold your setup and okay, there we go, it's balanced. So the next thing to do, switch on the crane. The downside with the crane is that you're unable to use any of the controls in Filmic Pro with it, but you'll be able to record still. And I put it on heavy mode. In the mode settings, if you go to motors, you'll see that it is in heavy mode. And the reason why I do that is because I don't want to test the gimbal with the other settings. I want to make sure I use the gimbal at its maximum capacity. I bought a cheap little Bluetooth remote. So if you want to control with something like a Bluetooth remote, you're gonna have to go into your Bluetooth settings on your smartphone, go to Bluetooth settings and connect it to your smartphone. And then Filmic Pro, hope you can see, show you there, device, activate volume key trigger. So if you activate volume key trigger, and then please work, record. And how that is able to record is you need to go under devices and activate volume key trigger record. Once that is activated and you've Bluetooth connected a little this is like a selfie stick Bluetooth trigger, works, it's cheap. And in a run and gun situation where you need to be able to run around and record and use your gimbal, vortex mode. It's a major problem when you don't have like a trigger remote is gaining access to that record button like this all the time. So a Bluetooth remote just makes it a lot easier when you're in a run and gun situation. Just hold it in the other hand or in your pocket or whatever, and there it's balanced, no problem. See? You can even works like a drum. And you can use it in underslung mode because you have the freedom to control the gimbal. You have that space, just enough space. As you can see, that the Crane M2 it's very capable of handling a smartphone, even though a lot of the weight is sitting on that side. Generally, what I've seen, there's another method. If you buy a BeastGrip cage, you can actually get the cage on here and then flip it around and it would sit on this side. We've come to the end of the video. If you found it valuable, please let me know. If you have a different method, maybe you can point out, but for me, this is the best way. This works for me. It works every single time. I never have any issues. The gimbal never goes into some sort of funny mode, and I've shot music videos using this exact same setup with ease, no problem whatsoever. So it's definitely capable of handling it. It just takes a little bit of time to set it up. But once you've gotten it right, you are able to use a smartphone with the Crane M2. Ideally, I wouldn't stack an ND filter as well as a mist filter or the Cinebloom filter on top of each other, purely because, you know, I'm trying to make my life as easy as possible. So if I do that, this is the rig I'll use. I'll do it handheld, and then I'll stack the different filters on top of each other. Also, if you want to know how to set up the Crane M2 with a point and shoot camera like the ZV-1, well, you'll find the link here and how to set it up. It's a lot easier with a point and shoot because the balance with the lens is dead center, so the center of gravity is a lot easier to set up. So yeah, go check out that video and give it a like and a thumbs up, and I'll see you in the next video.